I am continuing my ballet journal blog chapters of this book that I'm writing. Thank you for being patient with me as I haphazardly move from point A to point B. This particular chapter is a continuation of some of the ones before. This one is called Accidents Waiting to Happen, Part 2, The Insights of Reid Dunbar and Confronting Suzanne Barrell with My Dreams. As the dreams continued to plague my unconscious mind, I decided to look deeper. Knowing that companies have astrological charts, I began researching the inception of Ballet West, meaning the moment the papers were signed and the company became an entity to the paperwork of the state of Utah. That was a tricky thing to figure out. I asked a lot of questions in the administration. I went to the state government and rummaged through the paperwork and eventually discovered the official date and time that Ballet West was born. I do not remember all those exacting times because in the many transitions of my life, that was lost in the boxes and letting go of so much stuff. But I did give the information to my favorite astrologer at the time, Reid Dunbar. He was a very talented astrologer, and I only told him that I wanted a chart on this person. I did not tell him that it was a ballet company. After a week or so, he got back to me to give me his reading on this chart. I went to his house, and one of the first things he said was, "Wow, this person sure does a lot of traveling, and it involves many people and circumstances. They are very artistic, and their attention to detail is ridiculously high. There has been a recent big shift, and many things are irritating and aggravating on levels that others can see, and many more that others cannot see. The mission and purpose of this person is being redefined themselves, and they are struggling on a daily basis. There is so much anger and resentment festering below the surface, it is going to create problems." I gently asked, "What kind of problems?" And Reid responded, "Well, if I was this person, I would not travel the week before or the week after October 4th this year. There are many very bad travel aspects unfolding in their chart, and even if they do travel, I expect nothing will go according to plan." I sat back, stunned. Those were the dates in my dream. In my head, I questioned, what exactly should I do now? I went back to my meditation cushion to do a lot of deep introspection. There were days when I was meditating for 3 hours a day to get clarity, especially on my days off. It became clear that while I was trying to diffuse the anger in the space, that techniques of appreciation and love, there was still too much energy that was pulling things down. The tension was still there, though perhaps it was slightly less. Finally, I realized that I did not really know if we were traveling during that time, and perhaps a simple question to the company manager, Suzanne Barrell, would solve that looming question. If we were not really traveling or touring at that time of the year, then everything I am getting is just some crazy fear-based response to my own illness, anxiety, and personal misery. With newfound determination and a desire to find clarity, even if it meant that I would need to admit that I was the crazy person, I scheduled to speak with Suzanne Barrell, the company manager. I went to her office, and she was smiling but slightly confused as to why a dancer was coming to see her. I adored Suzanne Barrell. Her husband, Kay Barrell, was the lighting designer for the company, and they were an amazing team. She was always open and very friendly to myself and the dancers. She loved the arts, and promoting many arts organizations was her life's work. But she was also under tremendous pressure from Mr. Hart, and the strain was noticeable on her face, even under her authentic smile. At this time, it is probably March of that same year, and the dreams have been plaguing me for 3 months. I have tried to diffuse the anger in the company with appreciation and love of individuals that seemed the most miserable. I asked her if she knew if we were traveling from Detroit, Michigan to Little Rock, Arkansas on October 4th of that year. Slightly surprised, she responds, "Yes, we are doing an East Coast tour during that time, but let me get the calendar to tell you the exact dates." She leaves and quickly returns with a spreadsheet with everything laid out on a calendar. She says, putting her glasses on, "Yes, the week before we go to Detroit, Michigan for 4 performances. Then on October 4th, we fly from Detroit, Michigan to Nashville, Tennessee, and then transfer from Nashville to Little Rock, Arkansas. We perform in Little Rock the following day." "How did you know that?" "We are just now finalizing the dates for those shows." I told her about the dreams. I was having, how other dancers were having the dreams as well, how I was told the anger in the company was festering and could potentially create an upset, such as an accident, and that I believed traveling on that date was not good. I suggested that we should travel another day, either one day earlier or one day later, to potentially avert some disaster, and that is when she lost her cool. She said, "Well, you know you can make these things happen with your mind." Stunned, I responded, "There is a big difference between getting a premonition that is out of the blue that I should have no idea about and be actively trying to do things to diffuse the situation, and then instead being a person trying to create a thought virus that will magically make something negative happen. Do you think I want to crash an airplane? Are you insane? I am trying to avert a problem, and I'm trying to work with you to do just that while we have time." She gruffly responded, "This East Coast tour was difficult to pin down the dates, and it will be impossible to change the dates at this time. Those dates were set in stone, and this is what we are doing whether you have some crazy premonition or not." That is when I stood up and leaned into her desk, saying, "You are not getting this. I have checked many things out. I have even done an astrology chart on the company and told the astrologer that it was a person. And even with their objectivity, they told me that this person should not travel a week before or a week after October 4th. I am not making this up. I have waited 3 months for the dreams to stop, and they haven't. What you fail to see is my conviction to protect the dancers in our company. If I get a bad feeling, I will stand in front of the doorway to the plane and not let anyone get on the plane. I will create such a ruckus, and then you and everyone else will have to deal with me. Is that what you want?" She looked at me with a mixture of fear and loathing. Anger at being confronted in such a way was fighting with a sudden concern that was now in a race across her face, looking for a place to land and make sense out of something that was pure, unadulterated intuition. Then she stood up and said plainly, "This is the schedule. Deal with it, however you must." And that was when I turned and walked out the door. I will continue the story tomorrow.